Well, g'day guys. Ful-O Gold here for another episode. What I'm doing today is it's Friday. It's kind of hot outside. So what I decided to do is get the microscope out and plug into my laptop here and show you some of the finds that I've found. So what you're seeing at the moment is a bit of what we call super gene gold, and what that means is when gold isn't at its highest form, highest temperature rather, it finds its way in between the cracks, the nooks and crannies of other sedimentary rocks around it, and yeah, settles in there. So as you can see at the moment, it's a bit of shale or a bit of slate that it's found its way into and settled into. And so it's a very interesting find, that one. Nice little trophy. This one was a beauty of a nugget. I found it a couple of years ago and been hanging on to it. It looks like a teddy bear holding a guitar, doesn't it? I mean, that's one of a kind, I reckon. I've been hanging on to it. I'm going to turn that one into a bit of jewellery for a special someone, I reckon. It's just, yeah, I mean, a teddy bear holding a guitar. That's beautiful. So it's a handheld microscope. That's why it's so shaky. It's a bit hard to get it right. The nuggets are a little bit dirty, as you can see, but hopefully the jeweler will handle that when we get there. And this one's a little bit, kind of looks like a little bit of one of those wooden clogs actually. And you notice it's fairly shiny. That's because I've soaked it in hydrochloric acid, but it didn't work too well because it's still a little bit dirty, but it's made a nice shine on it. It's a beautiful piece, about 1.2 grams. Come through really nice on the headphones through the detector. Someone just interrupted me while I was filming and they have to be taken care of. So does that make me a serial killer, does it? This one is actually the biggest nugget I've found. Weighs at 2.8 grams. I was actually having trouble with it fitting under the microscope, to be honest. But that was a great find. Almost threw that one back because it just got dark. It felt like a bit of lead, like a big bullet. Luckily, took it over to the ute and got a bit of gold out of it, you know, a bit of yellow. So that was lucky I didn't throw it back. And this one is another bit of super gene gold. It looks a bit like a cavity of a tooth actually, but you zoom in there, you can really see that gold through those other minerals there. Not sure what they are. I'm not a geologist, but that was just a really nice find. It's too good to crush up because it's I mean, where are you going to find another bit like that? That was a nice little trophy, that one. So in this episode I got a few other tips and pointers for you. So hold on. Stay tuned. Shoddy shells and pallets and 22 bullets and stuff. So what I like to do is pick up every bit of lead that I find, that I dig up, and that way, if you go back to that area before, it saves you time digging up potentially the same target, but it confuses everyone else. Like, it confuses everyone else who goes there after you. That makes them start to wonder what that person found there. Could potentially throw them off. No, that's not very nice, is it? But you can it's said that lead gives off the same noise through the detector as gold does. So if you're finding lead, then you're probably in a good chance of getting some gold as well. So imagine if they were all yellow, bits of yellow there. That'll be what about an ounce looks like in your little vial here. That'd be amazing, wouldn't it, to turn that all yellow? Yeah. Also, when you're picking up bits of lead, it gives you the mentality of detecting. If you're picking up those little bits of lead, your detector's still working. Because I know you can go a long time without digging up a target or finding a signal, and you can start to doubt yourself or doubt your machine and that. So if you're picking up bits of fine stuff, your detector's still working, and then it's just a matter of patience and persistence and just sticking at it until you find something yellow. So hopefully that helps you out as well. So alright guys, what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you this graph here, explaining the best way or what to look for when you go to a gully, and which areas would be the best area to metal detect. So here we got the first one here. Right, so hopefully you can make that out. We got the tops of the hills here, a few trees. Don't mind my colouring in there. I only failed colouring in kindergarten, but anyway. And there's a bit of a Pac-Man thing going on here, so I got bored. But anyway, here we got the red. Imagine that's your quartz vein with the gold coming out, and these little red dots, that's the gold that's been broken off through weathering, things like that. So here, that highlighted part is obviously the alluvial wash, and these lines here is kind of like a topographical chart. If you're not sure what that means, it just means these lines here indicate the shape of a hill, and you can see the gully runs down. These two hills run into this gully here, and you got the loose materials or the alluvial wash down the bottom in that sort of groove there. So what I'm going to try and explain is what the best areas to detect or metal detect with the highest chance areas to detect, and generally with a metal detector you could obviously you'll find the loose or the coarse gold that's been broken off from the reef here, because that's going to be close to the surface and being broken off, because gold follows downhill, because it's 19 times the weight of water or something. So the gold's going to over time go down to the lowest point, hence the reason why the concentrated gold's down the bottom of the gully there. So obviously your detector is going to pick up these little bits here, or big bits, but those loose pieces there, and you'd find as you get further away from that source, your gold's going to get more spread out, like more fanned out. If I actually just put a few more dots here, just to make it more, so I can explain it better. So it's more clumped together here where the source is coming from, and as you get further down, that could be I guess maybe 5 meters, 10 meters, from the source and it'll start fanning out. And so you want to concentrate on this area here, where the source is obviously, but once you get further down the gully here, between the bottom of the gully and a bit further up halfway maybe, you might find the odd piece, but your most likely chances are you're not going to find anything around here, because there's a little bit of gold that's travelled from the outcrop here, and as that hill gets a bit more steeper, or depending on which part of the hill the outcrop is on, the gold will start go over a little bit of a curve, and the steeper that curve, the less chance the gold will be able to stop, and that gold will keep going until it gets to an area where it will stop, obviously. So the bottom of the gully is where it's going to stop, hopefully. That's a theory anyway, so I'm not claiming to be a geologist or whatever. This is just my observations in the field and how the things I have observed and area is that's the alluvial wash, or the lighter soils that have been washed down through who knows however many years. I say millions, but those guys weren't around for millions of years to see it, were they? So it's a bit of speculation, but so you could have a number of events that has formed this hill, this gully here, whether you believe in the Bible or not. You could have the Noah's flood, for example. That was a large amount of water that fell from the sky, and you can imagine the amount of erosion of the scenery from that from that amount of water, just rushing and tearing the land apart. So that could be one major event that could displace the gold. You can have a mixture of events too, because you imagine if you had flat land and the volcanic actions just pushed that flat land, like scrunched it up, and all of a sudden you got all these fissures and cracks in one area, that's created mountains and rocky ranges and things. So this is just a general sort of theory, or well, I guess, yeah. In theory, anyway. If there was a vein here, obviously you got the gold would come and go to the lowest point. But if there's been a disturbance of when that gold has come from that vein and got dislodged, for example, there could have been a big flood come through and displaced that loose gold further down the gully, or who knows, it can be difficult to find the source of the gold. So there's been a few mines that all they've done is mine the alluvial stuff, but they have never actually found the source of that gold. There's a couple of rich gullies they've been mined, and the old timers couldn't find where the source was. And to this day, they couldn't work it out. It hasn't been found yet. There's been a couple of mines though that they lost the lead, and due to the technology, they'll be able to take aerial photos and radars and things like that and they've actually picked up where the lead was lost. So the old timers didn't have that then, but they did a hell of a good job though. They were smart guys and guys back then, that's for sure. So obviously, if you're detecting, you want that source, you want to check that area there. But notice this X there. Now this yellow part, that's, I don't know what sort of ground you call it in the geology terms, but that could be your original type of ground, whether it be volcanic rock, slate, shale, clay, whatever you want to call it. But then there's a loose topsoil stuff that come there after the land formation was made. So obviously you want to try, gold being heavier, you want to try and get your detector in places with that topsoil is thin, and that's what the wash area means. So you could have a detector, say the SDC 2300 11-inch coil. Now they're designed for picking up the tiniest pieces of gold, and I've found a lot of little gold with it, but you're sort of within the inch or 2-inch for getting really fine stuff. I mean like 0.2, 0.1 of a gram, 0.05, even 0.01 of a gram. Like that's how fine the SDC can go, and you're sort of within that 1-inch, 2-inch or less range to get that sort of gold. So if you imagine you decided to want to detect a larger coil detector, would be better off for those deeper ground to get, to punch through that topsoil and lighter soil areas there. But for the SDC, even up the top here, that could be maybe foliage that's decayed, and that probably even the SDC up there might not be too good of a detector, because you need to punch through that layer of soil. So a good of the gully, and I've spoke before about on the top here, you might not get gold on the slope there because it hasn't had a chance to stop and get lodged somewhere due to its specific gravity weight. So that'll be for the SDC, that'll be probably the best area to go is along here, the top. Just work that gully face there. Also, where that gully starts to out until you got to that bottom layer, wouldn't you? But obviously, if you want to start jumping through hoops and getting mining leases and whatever, yeah, and you got a lot of money, and go for it, you know. I'd imagine that'll be a lot of fun. But if you're on cramped land and you're just doing it as a hobby, check these corners here before that layer gets too thick, because that would be a really good spot to check, because that soil level isn't too thick and it's not too thin. The SDCs, they will go fairly deep for a sizable nugget, and trash, of course. Probably up to 2 feet I've dug with it for a nail or a fairly big bridge spike. So you could do well with the SDC, but generally, for the SDC, they're better off for working the old diggings and, you know, mully keeps and stuff. But they can be good on finding this fine stuff, and combine that with, say, the other mine labs or other detectors, Garrett's or whatever you want to use, with the larger coils. You could find a trace of gold with the SDC, start finding those little bits, and then you can see, you can get out the parrot with the 45 or whatever other, you know, 5,000, 7,000 Garrett's or whatever you want to use to try and get those deeper nuggets. So then you can find a patch, is what you call it. So this is what I wanted to talk to you about, and hopefully that's giving you some pointers and a bit of a laugh with the sun there and these drunk trees and whatever. Yeah, that's all I got to say really. That depth of wash there, that could be anything, you know. It could be half a metre, a foot, up to 50 metres. Just depends on where you are really. But yeah, so hopefully that helps you out. Hopefully you enjoyed this episode of Ful-O Gold. I know I did. It was pretty fun, I actually thought. Hopefully you learnt something, and it's yeah, it's a bit warm outside, so not much happening in the shop here. So I thought I'd try and make a bit of a video to yeah, kick-start your weekend, hopefully. Anyway, I'm off. Go find some gold. Peace.
Folks in Australia could pick up lumps of gold.